Help me reach 9,000 subscribers. Support the video with a like and leave your thoughts in the comments. I read everyone. Thank you. The charge hit my phone while I was rinsing the French press. $1,547. Rooftop dinner at a place downtown called Monarch. Saturday, 8 people. I turned the screen so it caught the morning light. She stood by the stove, stirring oatmeal like life was simple. Big night I didn't know about. She didn't turn. Girls' night. You know Kristen's birthday. For 8. Couples joined later. She slid a bowl toward me, the spoon already in it. Don't start. It's not a start. It's a math problem. I nudged the phone closer. You've got it on our card. She took one bite, calm to the point of rehearsed. They'll Venmo me. Don't police it. Just asking. You're judging. I'm tracking the budget we agreed on. She smiled, small and practiced. Your comfort with control is not my emergency. If I'd known where it was headed, I would have logged the time, date, and temperature of that line. It sounded like a quote from somewhere new she belonged, and I was about to meet all of them. I kept a coffee and silence. She leaned on the counter like a host on camera. Later, I'm meeting the girls to plan another event, she added. Please don't text. It distracts. What do I do if there's a fire? Use the extinguisher in the pantry. She kissed the air, not me. You're fine. I watched her leave, clean ponytail, gym bag, lipstick for a planning session at noon. Our house felt staged. It wasn't the money. It was the tone, like I was an extra on her set. I rinsed the spoon, put my phone face down, and penciled a question mark next to Monarch in the ledger. Then I booked 2 hours with our accountant for Monday. That night I got my answer. The dinner wasn't a birthday. It was a live-action pitch. Her girls sat with their phones face up like contestants. I arrived late. Her invite had said 7 o'clock. Her text at 6:45 bumped it to 6:15 because they were hungry. When I slid into the chair, I caught the end of a joke. And of course Derek will want a receipt, Kristen chirped. He's a ledger romantic. Old school. Another one, Becca added. He still believes in shared calendars. I set my napkin down. I also believe in putting air in my tires. Primitive stuff. Jessica dabbed lipstick. We're keeping it light. So keep it light. I glanced at the menu I hadn't ordered from. What am I eating? Already handled, she said. Relax. You're among friends. Kristen leaned in. Do you let her breathe, Derek? Or do you do that tracker thing guys do when they're... Kristen, Jessica cut in, sweet as tea, boundaries. I looked at Jess. Your boundary is them talking about me? It's about me, she said, eyes moving past me to a phone propped on a glass. People want to hear a woman speak without explaining it to her man. People. Her audience, Becca said. You're married to a voice, not a spreadsheet. I folded my arms. A voice with a bill. Venmo, Kristen sang, tapping her phone. Charging by presence. It's the future. I put the napkin back in my lap and faced Jessica. At what point do I get told what my presence costs? Don't do that, she murmured. Don't shrink it with labels. It's a gathering. Feels like a tap. I looked at the skyline, at the glow on the glass. You know I'm fine with you building something. I'm not fine with paying for a room that laughs at me. She leaned closer, the scent of her perfume controlled, crisp. Then don't fund it. I'll front it. On our card. I said they'll reimburse me. Kristen sipped champagne. Or he could stop turning everything into an audit. And you could stop turning my marriage into a panel discussion, I replied. Jessica's smile held, but her eyes hardened. We have agreements now, Derek. New ones. I'll send them later. What am I agreeing to without a vote? Personal time. 1 weekend day off. No check-ins. From your husband. From anyone. She tugged at her earring. And no commentary on my friends. Commentary like don't insult me. Exactly like that. She pulled her phone, framed a shot of the table. We're done. Great, I said. Then here's my new agreement. I'm not attending any more tables where I'm a prop. If I walk in and it turns into content, I walk out. Kristen clapped once. Ooh, a rule. I love a man with policies. I stared at Jessica. You want independence? That goes both ways. We split budgets. You front your own gatherings. I'll handle mine. She didn't blink. That's controlling. That's separating. Control is telling me to enjoy being a punchline I paid for. Becca's smile thinned. He's spicy. Good, I said, pushing back my chair. It'll pair with the bill. I stood. Text me when the reimbursements hit. Until then, the joint account is paused for events. Jessica didn't argue. She didn't reach for me. She just lifted her phone to catch my exit in the background. I paused long enough to meet the lens. Make sure you caption this one honestly. I left them with their city view and their hollow laughs. On the sidewalk, the night felt colder than it was. I ordered a rideshare and, while I waited, put a freeze on the secondary card. The driver pulled up, glanced at the place, and said, "Anniversary?" Something like that. He drove. I watched the city and made a decision. No more showing up blind. From now on, everything had a paper trail. The next morning she played soft. Coffee ready. Pancakes. Hair loose. Music at a volume that pretended we never raised voices. About last night, she began, sliding into the chair across from me. I got carried away with the girls. Which part? The part where you turned me into a line item or the part where they did it for you? She exhaled through her nose. I want to build something that's mine. I need space. I need space I can give. Disrespect I don't. Then let me fix the tone. I'll talk to them. You won't have to, I said. You won't see me there. Her eyes flickered. We can compromise. I already did. I pulled my time and my money out of your stage. She poured syrup, didn't touch it. I'll make it right. I'll transfer back the Monarch bill. You could also stop using us as material. She lifted a shoulder. People relate to real life. Then live it. Don't sell it. Her voice softened. You're not the enemy here, Derek. Then stop writing me as one. She reached across the table, found my wrist. Give me a week. No events. Just us. I'll prove I can hold both. I pulled my hand away gently. You don't prove it to me. You just stop charging me for being in the room. I hear you. Do you? I do. She looked smaller for the first time. Let me show you. It was a good performance. That week she cooked twice, drew a bath once, turned down her phone, tucked it face down like a hostage release. Her tone was warmer, her jokes gentler. She asked about my projects. She laughed at my bad jokes. She patted around in socks and looked at me like I mattered. On Thursday, a neighbor, Linda, caught me by the mailbox. Linda's the type who remembers garage codes and birthdays. You too good? She asked. We're recalibrating. She had a full house last weekend, huh? What house? Cars out front Saturday. Little photo lights in the living room. Looked fun. Girls' night. I tried. Linda raised her eyebrows. There were a couple of men. Older. Suits. Cameras. Maybe a video thing. Good intel, I said. I don't gossip, she added. I just see. So do I. I went inside. Jess was on the couch with a laptop. I stood there until she looked up. What? Who were the suits Saturday? She kept her eyes on me, then tapped the edge of the laptop. Consultants. For what? Branding. Yours. Mine. You said a week. No events. It wasn't an event. It was strategy. Same movie, different scene. She measured me. You want me to stop growing. I want you to stop selling us. This again. It never ended. She closed the laptop. I hear you, she said, same way as before. Like she'd borrowed the sentence from a therapist. Good, I replied. Because I'm drawing the line differently now. I pulled my keys from the bowl. I'm shifting to my place for a bit. Your place? She frowned. My office. It has a pull-out and a shower. I need quiet. You need space. Perfect. She almost laughed. That's ridiculous. Ridiculous is charging strangers for proximity to your life and calling it self-care. Don't be dramatic. I'm not. I'm logistical. I nodded at the pantry door. There's the extinguisher in case life gets hot. You're leaving over a meeting? I'm creating a boundary you can't monetize. I picked up a small duffel and my charger. No announcements. No recording my absence for clicks. It's between us. She stood. Stay? We'll talk. We did. I headed for the door. Now we act. Is this punishment? It's a schedule change. People will ask. Tell them truth. You needed a week to choose what matters. And if I choose me, then you finally told the truth. At the office, I slept fine. I also paid a retainer to a private investigator an old friend recommended. Mike's a quiet guy who wears boring shoes. I gave him dates, names, restaurants, URLs that sounded like crystals and moon dust. He nodded like a mechanic looking at a bent axle. You'll have a file by month end. Make it boring, I said. Facts. Screenshots. Invoices. He did. Back home, Jessica's tone softened again. She showed up at my shop one afternoon with sandwiches. My assistant, Aaron, a 32-year-old with tattoos and a tolerance for nonsense at zero, watched her lay out napkins. "You're feeding him?" Aaron asked. "I'm reminding him who we are," she replied. Aaron shot me a look. "You hungry, or are we doing theater?" "I'm eating," I told him. "No theater." She sat on a stool, unwrapped her sandwich, and kept her voice low. "I missed you." "Okay." I shut down the weekly meetups. "For now, or for good?" "For now." She took a bite. "I want you to see I can balance." "I don't need balance. I need respect. I'm trying. Try quietly. Try without an audience. People learn from my journey. They can learn from a book." She dabbed a napkin at her lip. "Come home tonight." "Not yet." She stared at the tools on the wall like they offended her. "You think I'm using you. I think you're using everything. Your time. Your identity. Our kitchen. Our stories. They're my stories. Then stop including me in them." "It's not personal. It's entirely personal." She inhaled, then smiled in a way that could sell vitamins. "Fine. I'll restructure content." The word hit the room like a bad smell. Aaron raised a brow. "Content," he repeated. I stood, walked to the calendar, and circled our anniversary 2 weeks out. "We're still on?" I asked. She looked like she'd forgotten. "Of course." "Good. I'll plan dinner." "That's sweet. Bring your friends," I added. "It'll make for lively conversation." She froze half a beat, then nodded. "They'll love it." "Great," Aaron said under his breath once she left. "I love lively." "Wear a clean shirt," I told him. "I'll bring popcorn." The illusion cracked the next day. My phone lit with a PDF from Mike. He doesn't write much, he collects. The file held subscription links, paywalls, calendars with titles like "Dinner with Jess," limited seats, charges to a business account called Luna Heart Circle, domain registered 3 weeks prior. There were screenshots of rooms that looked like our living room with furniture moved, candles at angles I didn't set. There were lists of mentorship tiers priced like small car payments. Names I'd heard at our table were listed as founders of other clubs. Their husbands, according to Mike, thought they were at yoga. Halfway through the file, I stopped blinking and started underlining. The money wasn't the worst part. It was the rule book. No partners interrupting narrative arcs. No critique. No male energy draining flow. She didn't break skin. She diluted trust until it couldn't float. I called Mike. "You free for one more job?" "Yes." "I need printed folders for 6 husbands, plus seating cards. I need invoices, dates, screenshots, and 1 page of bullet points that a tired man can read and understand." "How tidy?" "Tidy enough that nobody argues." He delivered 2 days later. I took the folders to a copy shop, made extras, bought envelopes that looked like they'd hold apology notes. That night I sat in my office with a legal pad and wrote the timeline. Money, messaging, rules, offline dinners sold as coaching circles. All of it chosen. All of it documented. I slept hard. At home, Jess tried a second soft turn. New dress. Hair done. She lit candles for a Tuesday pasta night. "We've been off," she said, setting down plates. "I want us back." "We can be back," I answered, "if we're both here." "I am here. In between broadcasts." Her jaw shifted. "I told you I paused the weeklies. You launched Luna Heart Circle." Everything in her face shut down, then rebooted into charm. "Wow, you've been busy." "I read your terms of use," I said. "Beautiful work. Very clean. You went through my computer? Public pages. Your name's on them." She reached for a glass, realized her hand wasn't steady, set it down. "It's a project. It's a business that sells access to your attention. You're allowed. You're not allowed to sell mine." "I don't." "Then who is the husband you mention in your stories about budgeting and traditional resistance?" "Composite." "I don't argue with composites." She stared at me a long time, then reached across the table, softer voice. "Come back, Derek. Let's reset on our anniversary. Just us. Private." "Already planned it," I replied. "Private room. Bring Kristen and Becca. Bring the rest." "No," she shook her head. "That's not healthy. I'm done being healthy. I'm being precise." She set her fork down. "You're humiliating me." "I'm handing out facts. And if they don't come, they'll come." I stood, collected the plates we hadn't touched. "They always come when there's a camera." She held my sleeve. "If you love me." I won't finish that sentence for you. The following days were polite. She texted me photos of sunrises, books, quotes about aligning values. I sent back short answers. At work, Aaron kept humming the Jaws theme. Something circling, he'd say. At home, Lindo watered her hydrangeas and washed our driveway like it told time. 3 days before the dinner, Jessica joined me in the garage where I was changing the oil in my truck. She wore sneakers and old jeans. It was smart costuming. I canceled the dinner, she announced. You don't control the reservation, I answered, flipping a rag over my shoulder. I told the girls I'm sick. I invited their husbands. She blinked. That's low. That's straight. They'll make a scene. No, I said. They'll read. She stepped closer. I want to fix this. I'll shut down the circle. She swallowed. You win. It's not a contest. It feels like one. It's a choice. You made yours. Now I make mine. Please, she said, voice small. Don't do this in public. You already did. I set down the wrench and met her eyes. You ran a season of our marriage without telling me, then sold behind the scenes passes. It's not like that. It's exactly like that. And they'll see it, just like I did. She pulled at the hem of her shirt. If you go through with this, there's no coming back. I know. The room paused. We both heard the sentence sit there. I picked up the rag, put it in the bin, and wiped the oil cap. By the time I looked back, she had already composed her face for an audience that hadn't arrived. The night came. Private room. Long table. View of the city. I arrived early, checked the envelopes, placed them under chairs marked with names. The manager nodded at me. Our friend Tyler had set it up under the veneer of a corporate appreciation dinner. He's a client and a guy who likes to watch dominoes fall without touching them. Jessica walked in at 7, perfectly late, with 3 of her friends and a smile that would score well on camera. The husbands arrived too, awkward and underdressed for the room, each glancing at his wife like she held the script. Aaron sat near the far end with Tyler, both co-workers, both wearing faces that said they were there for the sliders. Kristen kissed the air in my direction. Anniversary, Derek. Generous. Always, I said. Glad you could all join. Jess slid into the seat beside me, leaned close enough for the group to see, and whispered, last chance. For what? We go home, we talk. This ends. It ends tonight, I agreed. But not how you want. The door shut. The room settled. I stood and kept my voice level. Thanks for coming. There are envelopes under your chairs with your names. Please don't open them yet. The husbands fumbled. The wives watched, suddenly less amused. Before we eat, I went on, I want to clear a few things so nobody is confused about who's paying for what and what exactly we've been buying. Becca laughed once. Oh, the ledger. Not a ledger, I replied. A map. I nodded to Tyler. He dimmed the lights a touch. I placed one folder on the table. Over the last few months, some of you launched online circles and in-person dinners monetizing your advice. That's fine. The issue is where you source the stories and who subsidize the venues. Kristen's mouth tightened. This is petty. It's precise, I said. Open your envelopes. Paper tore. The room filled with identical quiet throat sounds. Each husband held a packet with invoices, screenshots of marketing copy, dates matching evenings their wives had to unwind, and line items allocating payments from joint accounts. One husband, Rick, heavy set, decent, the kind of guy who fixes fences before anyone asks, looked at his wife like he'd been told the dog wasn't theirs. You charge for dinner with you? It's coaching, she snapped, but she didn't sound sure. On Tuesday, he asked, flipping a page. We had a budget meeting on Tuesday. You told me to skip. Another husband, Marcus, flipped to the back. His hands trembled. My name's in your copy, he said, eyes lifting. The stubborn spouse. That's me. It's a composite, his wife muttered. You wouldn't understand. He stared at the terms page. It says no spouses allowed at narrative events. That means this. Across from me, Jessica stayed very still. She lifted her eyes toward mine and spoke in a tone meant to calm a crowd. Derek, you've made your point. Not yet. I placed the final folder in front of her. This one's yours. She didn't touch it. I know about Luna Heart Circle, I continued. Launched 3 weeks ago. Tiered access. Offline dinners, capped seating. The same restaurants you called girls' nights. The same rooms. The same calendar. Stop, she whispered. No. You don't get to sell me and then tell me to stop when the bill is due. I looked at the husbands. Gentlemen, you can do with this what you want. I'm not telling you to be angry. I'm telling you to read. This is money. This is time. This is story. The room simmered. You could feel years of small compromises start to reorganize themselves into a backbone. Marcus set his packet down like it carried heat. I missed my kid's recital that Thursday, he said slowly. For your circle dinner. You told me it was your aunt's thing. She shifted. You never go anyway. He shook his head once, very small. I would have, if I'd known I wasn't invited to our own life. Kristen snapped at me. You planned this like a sting. You are controlling, Derek. You always have been. I set a boundary, I replied. You kept stepping over it. So I moved the fence and turned on the lights. The server entered with water. The whole table flinched like the room had been caught. He poured, confused but professional, and left. Jessica finally touched her folder. She didn't open it. What do you want? She asked, barely moving her lips. Honesty, I said. I want you to own what you built and how. Not to me, to yourself. And then I want you to stop using my name for your brand. I never used your name. You used me. She gave a small, controlled laugh. If you think this ends the way you think. It already ended, I said. This is the part where we call it what it is. You're leaving me? I'm leaving your stage. Becca pushed back from the table. We don't have to sit here and take this. You don't, I agreed. You can leave. But take your receipts. They'll follow you home anyway. Marcus stood. I'm going, he told his wife. We'll talk where cameras can't hear. Rick stayed seated but closed his folder carefully. We'll drive separate. The room cracked. Quiet, clean cracks. No shouting. Just men standing like they'd remembered how. Tyler raised his glass to me, subtle. Aaron looked like he'd learned something he'd use later. Jessica focused on her breathing. She had one move left. I'm sorry, she said, round and measured, loud enough for everyone. I lost myself. I went too far. I didn't know how to stop. Derek, please. Let's still find our way. Several heads pivoted. It was a good performance. It would play well on a reel. I let the silence sit, then answered. That would have worked before I saw the onboarding forms. You knew exactly where you were going. You sold tickets. She swallowed the rest of her speech. The second illusion failed where the first had seemed almost real. I turned to the manager and signed the check. Personal card. Clean. I motioned to the server. Box up the mains. Send them to the front desk. Some folks won't have an appetite. As people filtered out, Jessica stood so close I could see the tremor she fought. You think you won, she said, soft enough for me alone. I think I finished. You will regret this. No, I picked up my jacket. You will. Not because I wanted it. Because you traded respect for attention and got caught with both in your hands. She reached for my wrist and stopped herself. Small, human moment. Then she kept her spine straight and walked out like the room was still filming. I stayed, staring at the spot where she'd stood. Tyler approached, leaned on the back of a chair. That was neat, he said. Surgical. Messy, I replied. Neat for me, he added. I like seeing truth past the table. Aaron clapped my shoulder. You need a lift, or you driving your own dignity? I'm driving my own dignity. Text me if you crash into old habits. Outside, the air felt honest. I got in my truck, started the engine, and did the thing I should have done weeks earlier. I canceled the shared credit card. I scheduled movers for the weekend. I emailed our realtor to start the process of listing the house. Then I wrote Jessica a note with bullet points. Plain, declarative, no drama. I'm moving out Sunday. Joint finances split by Friday. You keep the furniture we bought for your sets. I'll keep the tools and the truck. No content about me, ever. If I see my name implied, I'll send a single email to your platform host with documentation. I won't warn twice. Do not call me unless it's about logistics. Good luck. I taped it to the fridge, next to her chalkboard with affirmations. Then I took my duffel and left the key on the counter. She tried that night. 3 calls. 2 texts. We can repair. You're being extreme. I didn't reply. I moved the rest Monday. Linda waved once from the hedge and didn't say a word. She didn't need to. She'd seen this kind of thing before. The epilogue didn't take long to write itself. People who live on audience bleed when the crowd moves on. Within a month, the Luna Heart site changed tone. Less fire. More seasonal pause. A few of their husbands made their own boundaries. Marcus moved to his brother's place. Rick took back the garage and canceled 2 subscriptions I'm sure she'll tell her circle he never supported anyway. Kristen went quiet on her page for 3 weeks, then returned with a video about reimagining structures. Comments were off. As for me, I found an apartment above the shop. Simple, clean. I bought a used SUV that starts when I ask and doesn't vibrate when it's cold. I replaced late-night scrolling with early morning runs and the kind of silence that returns your hearing. Work picked up. Guys like hiring someone who doesn't waste words. Aaron started taking lead on jobs and stopped humming the Jaws theme, which I did not miss. 3 months in, I met Claire at a hardware store. She teaches art to kids and likes normal conversation. She looked at me like a person, not a prop. We take it slow. We eat at a diner that doesn't care who we are. When she laughs at things that happen in front of us, not at the idea of who I am. My phone sits face down often, and it means nothing. It's a nice change. You feel your shoulders come down and stay. One Saturday, I drove past the house to pick up a box of old manuals Jessica said she'd set on the porch. The porch was clear. I texted once, "Logistics?" She replied with a pin to a storage unit and a sentence, "I'll send you the code." No extras. No quotes from her club. Just the code. Progress, in a way, but not my problem anymore. The last time we spoke was at the bank, closing out the last shared account we'd left open for autopays. She wore a blazer like armor. I wore a clean shirt and the look of someone who keeps his promises. She glanced at me after signing the final paper. "You didn't have to blow it up, you know." "Yes," I said. "I did. Because you were using our life like a trailer for something I wasn't in." Her eyes dropped to the pen. "I didn't think you'd actually walk." "You built a world where nothing was final," I told her. "I don't live there." She pushed the pen back across the counter. "Are you happy?" "I'm honest," I said. "Happiness follows." Outside, the air felt like mine again. I got in my SUV, tuned the radio to a game, and drove back to the shop, where orders waited and people said what they meant. When Claire stopped by later with coffee and a joke about my terrible handwriting, I laughed without turning it into a lesson. If there's a moral, it's this: you can't sell respect and keep it. And when someone chooses attention over you, you don't argue with their choice. You make yours. You draw your line. You move the fence. You turn on the lights. And when the crowd turns away, you're not on stage asking for them back. You're already gone, doing work that pays in quiet. The last thing I said to Jessica is the last thing I'll say here. I texted it the night before I blocked her number. Not angry, not gloating, just done. We're finished. This is me choosing my life. You don't get to narrate it.